Right. Getting going here.
Okay. We are live. How's everyone doing out there?
Live.
Got a little intro music, our intro song.
Dark Magic.
Dark
Sammy
Magic,
Gardner.
yeah.
Check her out on Spotify. Definitely promoting our daughter's music.
Absolutely. She's an amazing musician, singer, songwriter, performer,
student. All right, I'm sharing here as we get going.
Yeah, we're just letting some things load up here. So how's everyone doing out there tonight? My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza.
Guys.
And we are the immigration law firm Gardner and Mendoza. We are located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, east coast of the United States. And we come to you every Wednesday from 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock to give you immigration updates, let you know what's going on out there in the immigration world, and also to answer your questions. As a matter of fact, we mostly answer questions because we get a lot of them, especially from the folks on TikTok. We're on Facebook Live, and we are also on TikTok. So welcome all of you on TikTok. Welcome all of you on Facebook Live. So how's it going?
I'm sharing to my personal Facebook. And for you guys out there, if you think this information is going to be helpful, and I promise you that it will be, please go ahead and share and follow us while you're at it.
Yeah, absolutely. One disclaimer that I do want to give you with regard to everything we do here, it is for informational and educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not legal advice. All right. We have to say that partly because the bar requires it, but partly because we would never want to give you actual legal advice based on a small snippet of a question. If you become a client of ours, obviously, we will do a very deep dive into all of the facts and history of your case to make sure that we are doing it correctly, setting you up for success. And that's what we do every day. I know everybody's been kind of on edge this year about a lot of the stuff going on with immigration. Totally get it. But like we've been saying here every week, we are not freaked out by it. We're not panicked by it. We're not even intimidated by it. We just find the solutions and keep moving forward. And so we're still getting approvals every single day.
Absolutely. For the cases that we do and that we can do, we are doing them. And as John mentioned, we're getting approvals. So I think a lot of people right now, in reaction to what's happening, is maybe I'm not going to file that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to file the I-130 petition. And I do like to, I mean, I guess you can say it's a lecture, it's a warning, it's information. But one of the biggest reasons why your case is not moving quickly is simply because you have taken so much time to decide on when to file it. And that's tough love for you guys, especially for people who have family members abroad. You'd be amazed that, I have permanent residents who've been permanent residents for 10, 15 years, and they still haven't become a U.S. citizen. They still haven't filed for their spouse, or unmarried children under the age of 21, or unmarried children, period. And it could be because of a lack of information that they didn't know that they could. I hear this a lot. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that I could petition for my spouse and my unmarried children as a lawful permanent resident. I thought I had to become a U.S. citizen first. So one, there is just, get the information that you need in order to do what you want to do. Without information, without action, you're going to just be stuck. So let's not be stuck going into 2026, and let's get those petitions filed. Let's get naturalization filed. For those of you guys who have been procrastinating, business is open.
Yeah, don't be scared. Just get educated, get a good immigration lawyer. If it's us, great. If it's not us, that's fine too. Maybe you feel more comfortable hiring somebody in your local jurisdiction. We understand that. I would mention that's completely unnecessary. Immigration law is federal law, so we can represent you in your immigration case no matter where you are in the United States or in the world, since you're coming to the United States. And as a matter of fact, we have clients all over the country. We have clients all over the world. and we do everything remotely through Zoom and DocuSign and all the other wonderful technology that has completely allowed us to reach so many more people and to help so many more people because they don't have to be living right here in the Hampton Roads area to meet with us and have us represent them. So, okay, we've got questions coming already.
Let's go.
So I have one little thing I was going to talk about briefly, but let's go ahead and get some questions first. All right. Shopping Central said, came here as a student. I got out of status, applied asylum, got a work permit. I have a master hearing in February.
All right. So this is a student?
Yep.
Yes. So please make sure that you have representation. Hopefully that you do. Good luck at your master hearing. A master hearing is really just an appearance, and it's where your attorney is going to let the judge know what the next action is going to be, or what you're going to be pursuing in your immigration case. We do not do removal work. And so when someone says they have a master hearing, an individual hearing, that is in immigration court. But good luck to you.
Yeah, and you really should have an attorney, especially for that. But for all immigration cases, you should have an attorney. I feel like that's always been the case, but it really is especially true now, where everything is being scrutinized so much more closely, where the bar has been raised on a lot of things, naturalization, for example. You just want to make sure that you're taking all the right steps and that you're not inadvertently stepping into a trap, because there are traps. There are things that we sometimes discover when we're screening a case for a client. And when we find those things out, we change course and maybe tell them to do something different than what they were originally wanting to do or planning to do. And that's why it's so important to have an attorney. Again, if it's not us, fair enough. But you absolutely should be consulting with a expert immigration lawyer. And I'm not trying to throw any other lawyers under the bus here. I did criminal defense myself for many, many, many years, mostly representing folks that also had immigration matters pending. But that said, I know that most attorneys out there that don't practice immigration exclusively don't really know what they're doing with immigration law, and that can be very dangerous. I would hear things all the time from my colleagues about immigration that I knew were wrong, were false. I had questions from judges routinely that told me, based on their question, that they did not understand very much about immigration law either. And so if you're thinking, well, I know somebody, they did an estate plan for me, so they said they probably can figure it out. Don't do that. Make sure that you're hiring somebody who exclusively practices immigration law, and that's all they do. And preferably they've been doing it for a while. Okay. Okay. We got some more questions already. Whoops. You're on TikTok.
And looking at the questions on TikTok, it gets a little slippery. We did try to do TikTok on our, what do they call it? The PC.
That's right. All right. The next question came up here was, I filed adjustment of status in August, ending receipt notice September 4th, 2025. I didn't get a biometric notice till last week.
Okay. So, wow, a biometrics notice, September, October, November, December. So 3 months later, that's a little bit slower than what we have seen. But I think that's going to be a little bit of a trend with processing times and getting biometrics notices, your work authorization, your advanced parole. The timeframes are climbing. So it doesn't surprise me, but I think you're on track.
Yeah, they said that they haven't received EAD, nothing, haven't worked in 6 months. Very, very troubled times.
Yeah, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. We tell folks that I still have to count the months out like that.
Yeah, of course.
Was that? I think John gave me the side eye. He was like, "Wow, my wife is
No,
counting,
no.
my wife is counting out months with her fingers." What did I say? Did I say September, October, November, December, January, February, March?
You know what?
So you can expect it March, around March. 6 to 8 months is what we tell our clients once you file the adjustment of status with the work authorization and advance parole.
My father was a brilliant mechanical engineer.
And
He
mathematician.
had a master's degree in mathematics, and I saw him use his fingers to count stuff out all the time. So don't sweat it.
Super smart guy, really famous in his industry. Very, very famous guy.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. I'm from Guam. I have married an Egyptian man last year. Should I wait after Trump is out?
No.
This is what we're talking about.
No, come talk to us, please.
Yeah, Jen Kai,
Guys,
please give us a call, Jen Kai.
Please give us a call, 757-464-9224. Go to my profile in TikTok and give us a call. No, you shouldn't wait. Guys, you shouldn't wait. You shouldn't wait. Things are going to just get longer. Fees might get higher. The public charge rule might go into effect. You guys don't remember that. It was pretty bad. And the new public charge rule. And they're talking about that. They're talking about doing some different things with the public charge and having that additional form that we had to complete, which really you had to give all of this information and swear your firstborn to U.S. Department of Homeland Security and give a pint of blood. I'm just kidding on all those things. Guys, don't. Those last two things, I was a joke. But no, you cannot wait because you think this too shall pass. It's this business as usual. I mean, we are good friends with a retired supervisor who worked with the Department of Homeland Security for 42 years. She's seen all the different administrations, all the different presidents, and for them, it's business as usual. You might be looking at things a little bit differently in the application. The officer might be looking at things differently, but it's the I-130 still needs to be filed. The adjustment of status still needs to be filed. You still need to become a U.S. citizen in order to do some of the things that you want to do, like vote, petition for your parents, petition for your spouse. It's faster. So, no.
Yeah, I mean,
don't
wait. Don't want to downplay the fear out there. It's understandable.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you have to recognize that sometimes you can get a tainted view of it. How many of you have ever seen the news or you're on TikTok and you're seeing things about how, homelessness problem is out of control and you shouldn't even visit that city because, you can't even walk around without having to step over homeless people. And then you go there for your vacation and it just seems like totally normal to you. You're like, this seems the same way it always was to me. And you realize that, you were just kind of getting things blown out of proportion. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. Again, if you're in a danger zone, if you're in a case that's going to be a problem, we're going to tell you. I mean, we're not going to, feed you to the lion. Trust me, that's not going to happen. If we sense that there is a real danger spot and that you are going to be worse off if you move forward, then we'll simply inform you of that. At least you'll know. All right. And think about this. If people are fearful and some people are waiting, well, the less people that are doing it, then, you might get a shorter line. Who knows?
Yep, that's true. Absolutely. I mean, I think that the H-1Bs are going to be down. The filings are going to be down this year. So for those employers out there who have people who have missed the lottery every year, right? This is the year to apply, because with the $100,000 fine, penalty, fee, whatever you want to call it, there's bound to be far fewer people who are applying for potential employees. So, again, as John mentioned, we don't want to downplay some of the terrible things that are happening to people out there. I mean, but you have to ask yourself the question, does this apply to me? Does this apply to my case? Does this apply to my petitioning of my husband or my wife or my child who's abroad or who's here, and there's a potential to do adjustment of status. So that's, I think, where you have to ask that question. And for many of our clients, not everything is going to be doom and gloom, because we're just able to proceed as normal. Is it as per normal or as normal? Both. Maybe you can say both. As per normal. I feel like per is an additional word. Is per as per normal? Does it make you sound like smarter than you actually are? Okay, as normal. And so back to woman from Guam or man from Guam, petition for your spouse. Yes, you should not wait. All right. John, sorry, not John. My cousin Roy from Canada has a question. Why is it that ICE never charges the employers of illegals? That is the question. They do, actually. They do. There is a notice of intent to fine and, possible penalty if employers are employing people who are undocumented and who do not have authorization to work in the United States. And, John and I were just, husband John, not Roy John, we were just having this conversation. I think it would be like the big contractors that would need to get dinged hard, right? Because I think it's the subcontractors who are the ones that are getting dinged. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the breadth of cases that are out there where employers have gotten penalized. But I do know that they do have monetary fines, and in extreme cases where there's things like harboring, where HR and owner knows that the folks that they are employing are undocumented and they're trying to hide it. There are penalties for that, and there are also even criminal penalties. So I just don't think you see it as much. All right.
Yeah.
Is this a good?
But thanks for the question.
I think since Roy John Wells here asked that question, we should talk about birthright citizenship.
Yeah, very briefly, I just wanted to talk about this for a minute. On Friday, the Supreme Court announced that it will take up the challenge to birthright citizenship. I don't know where this will go. I think I know where it's going to go. I think that the court is probably going to take this opportunity to affirm that the 14th Amendment does protect, for birthright citizenship. Excuse me. I don't want to go too far down a rabbit hole with this in the legal stuff, but it's rarer than you might think. Only about 15% of the countries in the world have birthright citizenship, and the United States is one of them. And the 14th Amendment is essentially where that comes from, because there was a time when our own Supreme Court ruled in the Dred Scott case that Blacks that were here as slaves could never become citizens. That was actually Supreme Court precedent. The 14th Amendment overruled that by being enacted, and the actual language, it declares that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. The sticking point here, the people that say that birthright citizenship should be abolished and overturned, are saying that subject to the jurisdiction thereof does not apply if the parents of the person born here are not in the country legally. So the argument goes, oh, well, the folks that are here illegally are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and therefore their children should not be granted citizenship at birth. This is a pretty strained argument because folks that are here are subject to the laws of the United States, regardless of how they're here. And if you took that argument to its logical conclusion, then you would have to say that if somebody who was here illegally committed a federal drug crime, that they couldn't be arrested, tried, and convicted because they could argue that, well, I'm not subject to the jurisdiction of this country because I'm not here lawfully. The most you can do is deport me. I don't think that the Supreme Court is going to buy the argument that the Trump administration is putting forward. This is one of those places where the court being so conservative right now will actually, I think, lead them to take a very strict, plain reading of the Constitution and of the amendment, and will likely rule that the 14th Amendment does guarantee birthright citizenship. We shall see. I've been wrong before, but on this one, I'm pretty confident. So that's my prediction.
I like it. I concur. Joy's, oh my gosh. I've now combined Roy and Johnson. I call Roy Joy. Roy is trolling us now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's take that next question.
Okay, let's go back to TikTok here for a minute. Question came here as H-1B. I'm now married and applying for a green card. How long will it take this current administration?
So it really depends on where you are. Where we are, it's on the USCIS processing time is 17 months, but it's taking a lot less than that. So we are letting people know that, we have to go by the posted processing times. Those are the official processing times on the USCIS website. But our cases are taking about 6 to 9 months. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Okay, Robert wants to know, do asylees still apply for a green card?
Yeah. Yep. They can after it's granted and after a period of time. Yep. Okay. We're getting a lot of these. We don't do removal work, but that's okay. We'll do our best to get to answer these. Good evening. My husband has a notice to appear next month. Does that mean that he gets automatic deportation? No, not necessarily. It really depends on where he is in the case. Why did they give him a notice to appear in immigration court? What are his remedies? As in, how can he become legal in this country? Can it be through marriage, or has that process started? So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be deported. I do highly recommend, however, that your husband gets an attorney, an immigration attorney, to specifically represent him in his immigration court case. Highly, highly recommend. Just guys, this person is on the other side of what we were talking about, where her husband has been given a notice to appear in immigration court. Hopefully there wasn't an arrest, and it was just it issued by mail perhaps. And now he has to go to immigration court. I mean, we've seen the news cycle where, ICE is arresting people at their immigration hearings. I don't think that's happening like it was before, but you have to be prepared. I mean, don't go to that hearing without an immigration attorney. Do not. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's our $1 million tip. Yeah, you should never be in any court without counsel. Yeah, it's a bad idea. I mean, it's not a state criminal case or a federal criminal case, but I mean, you all know in those cases that you have a right to an attorney. And if you can't afford one will be appointed. That's how you know how important it is that you have counsel. And this is a similar situation. You absolutely should hire somebody. Okay, Shika wants to know, my friend failed VAWA in 2023 and still no update. Is that normal? Failed VAWA? Yeah, that was going to be my question too. Filed VAWA. Well, it says failed, but maybe she meant filed. Okay. Yeah, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. 2023. So friend filed VAWA. VAWA is Violence Against Women Act, where a person can self-petition and can lead to lawful permanent residency in the United States. That is not unusual to not have a decision made on VAWA for 2 years. Sorry to say, but hopefully she has her interim benefit, her work authorization card. And if she doesn't, maybe she can concurrently file that green card application. But no, it's not unusual. They take a long time.
Okay, Shopping Central's back with another question, and we'll just take them in the order that they come. That's why we're. How risky is it? We just talked about this, to go in person for a hearing for people who came legally but got out of status.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on it. Really, I believe it really depends on the remedy. If you're going to court and you've been issued a notice to appear, you're out of status. What are the circumstances? How long have you lived here? How long have you been entrenched in your community? What family members do you have? I think that I don't know because I don't do removal work, but I know that immigration judges can now redetermine an ICE no bond determination. So that there was, up until I think maybe it was last week, a case that stated that immigration judges could not review an ICE no bond determination for someone who was undocumented. Terrible, right? So what that meant was people who were undocumented, meaning they came into the United States without a visa, without inspection, would sit in detention until their immigration case was heard and went to completion. What are people going to do? They're not going to sit in detention for years and years. They're going to request to leave. So that case has been overturned, and it didn't apply to people who entered the United States and with inspection and overstayed. It didn't apply. So I don't think that it really, to go back to the question. I think it really depends on the circumstances of the overstay, what that person is doing in order to fix their status, if they can. Are there any viable remedies for that person? I think that's going to really dictate what's going to happen with whether they are detained or not.
Yeah, well, it's an odd case too, because I mean, judges should have discretion. When they don't have any discretion, it sort of begs the question, what's the point of having hearings in the first place? There are very few areas of the law where judges have no discretion at all. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is like some of the sentencing guidelines have mandatory minimums, but even those are rare. Okay, so Cool Beans, yeah. Cool Beans wants to know if can I file mandamus with you guys if I'm part of the 19 countries for the I-589?
Right. So Cool Beans, we are actually referring our mandamus cases out, and we can definitely refer you to give you the names of a few great attorneys who will be able to help you with that.
Yeah, and I should have mentioned that when I said we don't do removal work, we do work with a lot of our colleagues that we know, that we trust, that we've vetted. And so if you're seeking help with that, please give us a call anyway, and we can help refer you to somebody. And that way you're not just, in Google and have no idea whether the person is good or not. Okay.
Yes, when we it was right around after 9/11, and there was a lot of our naturalization cases and a lot of people's naturalization cases were being held, and the reason was FBI background check. And so some cases, I mean, some people went to their naturalization interviews, and then 4 or 5 years later, they still had not gotten a decision. So there was a time period there where we were filing a lot of mandamus actions and having great success with them. And it was something that we did for a few years, just a bunch of them. And then we stopped because there was everything, they weren't doing that anymore. They weren't claiming FBI background check and holding up a case. And so when we file a mandamus claim now, an action now, it takes us a little bit off of, our core services, because it's not something that we're constantly doing. So that was the impetus behind referring these cases out to I'm not going to say factories. That's not, no. I mean, although a factory can be a positive thing, it's, where you're doing the same type of case over and over and over and over again,
Yeah,
so
and court work is like that as well. Any kind of
yeah.
trial work, you want somebody who is doing it every day, who is really abreast of all of the minor changes with any of the filing, who even going a step further when I was doing trial work, even knowing, all the different judges and how they reacted to different arguments, you kind of got to know what's going to work with this judge, what's not going to work with this judge, what should I emphasize with this judge, what do I want to make sure I don't bring up with this judge because it'll backfire, and that kind of thing. So you do want somebody who's doing it all the time. They're going to be a better choice. And travel question.
All right, let's hear it.
This is the longest we've gone without a travel question. Cynthia wants to know, can I travel to Mexico with a green card? I'm scared I won't be able to come back into the country.
Yes. So a lot of people are scared who are permanent residents to leave the country because of everything that's been going on. So again, our recommendation to all of you is to, really just kind of assess your situation. When you look at social media and you see these people getting arrested, you see these permanent residents coming back into the United States and stories about them getting detained for a criminal conviction from years and years ago, ask yourself, do these facts apply to me? And is this something that I should be nervous about? So we have like a 50-point test. It's not really 50, but we have a long list of questions that, you really should be asking yourself before travel. And the first one is that, do I have a criminal conviction where it would make me inadmissible, right? If I travel outside the United States as a lawful permanent resident, would it make me ineligible to come back into the United States? One example is theft. Theft and any type of embezzlement or any type of fraud, that's fraud, especially dealing with money. Anything like that can make you inadmissible back into the United States. I mean, even shoplifting, right? Depending on the degree. So those are really minor things here in the United States. It's typically a class 1 misdemeanor. Embezzlement is usually not, it's usually a felony. But even if you've been traveling back and forth and you've got this, fraud conviction or a theft conviction from way back when, and you've been traveling back and forth just fine, you really have to ask yourself now and assess and go to an immigration attorney to assess with you, is this going to be a problem for me? That's number one. Then the second one is, have you abandoned your green card at any point in time when you've had your green card? Have you stayed outside of the United States for more than a year? And in the past, and now you're trying to come back? That's another one. Are you able to come back in as a permanent resident, or are they going to say, hey, you've abandoned your green card, so we're not going to allow you to come in as a permanent resident? That's the second inquiry. The third is, is there any type of underlying fraud in the way that you got your green card? This is, some of you might have to go back into the Wayback Machine, but that's certainly a question. And I think that if it's something, I'm not even going to say, but ask the question, is there any type of fraud? Do you have any drug convictions or drug use issues with anything, even with something as normalized now as marijuana, right? Many states have decriminalized marijuana, but under federal law, it is still a crime. And so if you have, from back before when they were giving out, were they tickets? When they were giving out warrants for people who possessed marijuana, was it a class 1 misdemeanor? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it was a class 1 misdemeanor.
Well, in Virginia.
Right. In Virginia. Did you ever get one of those? And what were the circumstances? Was it just a simple possession, or were you initially charged with, possession with intent to distribute marijuana, but then it got dropped down to simple possession of marijuana, even if it is a simple possession of marijuana. Do you have anywhere to show how much marijuana you were possessing? Was it less than 30 grams? So we're really kind of getting into an analysis here. And the one that John loves is, if I was arrested and charged and those charges were dismissed, how were they dismissed?
Yeah, this is a really danger zone. It's really a quirky part of immigration law that there are things that cannot get you removed from the country, deported, but do make you inadmissible. So as long as you're here and you have that conviction, you're fine. But if you leave and try to come back in, that same conviction now makes you ineligible, inadmissible, unable to enter back into the United States. It is what it is. But what really becomes a super dangerous thing is that most states, I think probably all states, have various types of, deferred action matters where basically in Virginia, we call it a finding under advisement, where a judge will find that the facts are sufficient to find you guilty, but they hold off on finding you guilty and they give you the chance to do things like pay the fines. For theft, for example, you can go to a larceny school where you learn about, how to not steal stuff and not better control yourself. For drug possession charges, you do some drug counseling. For domestic assault and battery, you do anger management classes. There are all kinds of deferred action programs. In the way that they all work is that you go do the thing, and once you successfully complete it, and you pay your fines, you pay your court costs, you come back to court, usually like a year later or 6 months later, and the judge says, oh, great, you did the larceny class, you paid all your fines and court costs, I'm going to dismiss the charge. You're free to go. So in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I don't have a conviction. And you don't for state court purposes, but you still do for immigration purposes. So if you have any kind of criminal background, even where you got arrested and you feel like it got dropped, or you feel like you never got charged, the cops just let you go, or maybe you went to court and you're not really sure, you just know that the prosecutor said they were dropping the charge, you really need to dig into that and find out exactly what happened.
Yeah.
What does the court paperwork, if it's still around, actually say happened? And if there is no court paperwork, you need to get something from the court saying that they no longer have any record of it.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely. And I know that's a lot. And the person who asked the question, probably none of this applies to her or him.
Yeah.
I mean, and if it doesn't, great, you should be totally fine to travel. The last thing I'm going to add there is social media accounts. Are you going bananas against this administration that could be deemed as terrorist activity or anti-Semitism, or anything that anything that is more than just free speech, right? It's something that is harmful and dangerous potentially, and it could also be interpreted or misinterpreted, right, as such. So those are generally the things that you should ask yourself. And this is not an exercise that should take a long time, unless you do have, and most of the things that we talked about dealt with criminal convictions, deferred findings, and drug use. So I think that a lot of people are not going to fall under those categories,
right,
but there are going to be some who do, and you really have to kind of evaluate that. Last thing that I do want to say about this is, if something did happen to you and you were convicted of a theft charge, that doesn't mean you can never leave the country and come back in. It just means that you need to talk to somebody to make sure that when you travel, you have all of your ducks in line.
In a row?
In a row. Oh, you have all of your
This
ducks
is
in
an
a row.
inside joke.
You have all of your, I was going to say in order, but I was like, that's not right. Have all your ducks in a row, right? Carry the certified disposition to show that it was dismissed on the merits, if that's what happened. Carry the certified disposition to show that all you got was community service. You got no active or suspended jail time, which is what could be a problem. That your conviction falls under the petty offense exception, that you're able to come back in, even though you have this conviction, that you've paid all of your fines. And so these are things that you just need to be aware of. And it really shouldn't take you more than 10, 15 minutes to kind of determine this. 5 minutes for 1 minute for most of you, right? And, if I were a permanent resident, my assessment is done. I don't have any of those things. So I'm good to go, right? But if I had a marijuana conviction, I would want to get a certified disposition. I would want to have the police report that shows how much marijuana I possessed, so I'm not inadmissible for, possession of marijuana, amount unknown. So let's just say this person's inadmissible.
Yeah, and I hope all of you who are listening to this, if you don't have any criminal convictions and you've never been charged with anything, great. But if you're not a U.S. citizen, keep in mind that if you ever do have something like this come up, it's really, really important for your criminal defense attorney to work with an immigration attorney to make sure that what they're doing in the criminal case is not going to come back and bite you and haunt you later in your immigration case.
Yeah.
All right. You definitely want those two attorneys talking to each other. I mean, I never liked any ambiguity at all. Even when I had cases where witnesses didn't show up and the case was getting dropped, I would always ask the court to allow me to enter a not guilty plea for my client and have it dismissed on the merits.
Yeah.
Just so that's what the paperwork reflected, because I just knew that it was going to be a much cleaner result for them down the line for their immigration matter. Okay. We've talked a lot about that.
We've talked a lot about
move
that.
on. Okay.
Well, really quickly for all the permanent residents who are wondering the same thing, can I travel? Should I travel? Am I safe to travel? Ask yourself, if you are eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship, then I really implore you, if you are struggling with this question and afraid, and you may have absolutely the cleanest record in the world, but because of what you're being exposed to right now on media, it's terrifying. It is terrifying to think that you could leave. Maybe you have kids at home and not be able to come back. It's terrifying. So I understand why people are out there scared, but filing for U.S. citizenship will and can fix this, and there will be no questions asked. So some of you are, what about denaturalization? It is extremely hard to denaturalize someone and very rare. I know they're trying to ramp it up right now, but I don't think you fall under that for the person who asked the question.
That's going nowhere.
Yeah. So anyway, contact us for the permanent residents out there who are eligible to apply for U.S. citizenship, even if you have an infraction, a conviction, something that doesn't look perfect on your record. Give us a call. Let us evaluate. Let us help you get peace of mind from going from permanent residency to U.S. citizenship, which actually just means more security, less worry, peace of mind.
No doubt. And goes even to the speech stuff. I mean, there's First Amendment protection, but as Radlin said, you got to be a little more careful. But once you're a U.S. citizen, you want to become an outright activist, you can do it without being worried a bit about it. We don't want to imply at all that we are not defenders of the First Amendment. We are. We just know that if you are not a U.S. citizen, you may want to tread lightly in that area.
Oh, yeah. Immigration, CBP, they're all over social media right now. So just be careful with that. All right.
Okay. Okay, Robert wants to know
I'm glad you can see these.
What's the issue with public charge like Medicare affecting or denial of green card applications?
Yeah, so we mentioned this before, and the issue here is whether a person who is using these programs, whether they are going to be able to get their permanent residency, right? So in is a family member, and this is getting rolled out. I heard about it. I haven't heard anything additional about it other than we are going to be paying attention to these things. We are going to be looking at the financials of the applicant and whether that person is going to be a public charge, and we're going to double down on this. So there's more to come on that. I haven't seen anything since it was a headline, and we'll see how that plays out.
Okay. Irish says, "Sis Filipina ka?"
Yes, I am Filipino. How did you know?
That was my stab at reading Tagalog there. That wasn't too bad. All right. Well, this is really a question, but I'm an American citizen. I applied the I-130 for my wife. She's from Somalia. 10 months. She is on AP. Okay.
She's on AP. She's out of the country on advanced parole. I'm not sure. So as we know, Somalia is one of the banned countries where adjudication is actually being stopped on these countries. I think there are 19 of them. You talked about them last week.
Yeah.
And if she's out of the country in advanced parole, if that's what you mean, are they going to allow her back in? That's a really good question. Advanced parole does allow you to come back in. That's a good question. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they will.
You're in slightly uncharted territory with that.
Yes. I'm trying to think of what they did during COVID. I just don't remember. And I don't, because there were banned countries during COVID as well. And whether people with advanced parole, I feel like they allowed, I don't want to speak and say something that's incorrect, but something to watch, and we will report back to you next week.
Okay, Ariana wants to know, is there any new update for K1 visa now? And how long is the processing time? Do you know anything about K1 visas?
This is funny because I recently was interviewed by 4 students from, what is the school? I can't read my handwriting. San Bernard Moreno in the Philippines, and they no, I'm so sorry. That's another note. I was talking about Senator Moreno with the Exclusive Citizenship Act. Sorry, cannot read my own handwriting. But University of San Carlos in the Philippines, they interviewed me for a thesis that they were working on in their senior year, and it was about the plight of the Filipino during, with regard to K1 from 2015 to 2025. Now, guys, I know I don't look old enough to know 10 years of, but our law office has actually been open for 25 years. So we were there for it all. I believe Clinton was president, right? Clinton, yeah, he was 245I. Clinton was president when we started our law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And so with regard to K1, let me just double check processing times really quickly. I still think it's like around 9 months, but it was really a fun experience talking to these students. They were very serious, they were very earnest, and they had great questions about policy with regard to the fiancé visa petition and process. So
yeah, we've seen a lot. You're right. We started with Clinton. We went through Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, and now Trump again. We had COVID, which was a very interesting time. We had the period in the year or two post 9/11 was also a very tough immigration time where a lot was changing very quickly, and we had to really be on it to stay up with it all. So that's what I mean. Where we've been here before, we've seen it all, and we don't freak out anymore. We just readjust, pivot, and find the best way forward. Okay.
So right now it's 10 months. It's showing up as 10 months. Now, so for those of you guys who are filing fiance visa petitions, remember the I-129F and filing of the I-129F with USCIS is just the very first step of, I would say, a 3-4 step process. So it's filing the I-129F with USCIS. That's taking 9-10 months. It then goes to the National Visa Center, and it takes 30 to 60 days for that transfer to happen. So can you add the months up for me? So we're at 10 months, and then it's 60 days, right, to get to the National Visa Center. Then let's say it gets out of NVC. John's writing down that smart. Gets out of NVC, let's just say another month. And then it takes another 2 months to schedule the interview. So I think I'm kind of going long on some of those, but where are we now?
15 months.
15 months. So really that first petition is just the first step. I'm going to say it's going to be more like 12, 13 before your fiance is granted that fiance visa. And that's 3 steps in that, the filing the petition, going to the National Visa Center, fiance going to the interview. That's 3 steps, right? And then the 4th step, your fiance comes to the United States. You all have to get married within 90 days. And then you have to file your adjustment of status application. Your husband or wife has to file that adjustment of status application. That actually can take 20 months. So the whole timeline of the fiance visa is actually the longest timeline for a spouse to get a lawful permanent resident card. The benefit of the fiance visa is that your fiance is going to be in the United States sooner than if you got married and did the immigrant visa. That's the only benefit. It's going to take longer ultimately for her to get her permanent residency, but it is what it is. And just be aware that that very first petition is just the tip of the iceberg as far as time. And I like to tell our couples to just try to manage expectations. The U.S. citizen petitioner, make sure you let your husband or your fiance, future husband or wife, know that you are doing absolutely everything that you can to move this case forward. And it's not you, it's them being the government. All right, that's my relationship advice. Communication.
That's good. Good
Yeah.
relationship advice and great thorough answer on the K1.
Oh, thank you.
I guess that's
Thank
why
you
the
so much.
students, that's why they picked you to interview.
Yeah, I guess so.
They know that you know.
John mentioned, we were talking about birthright citizenship. There is a senator from Ohio who has introduced a bill. It's called the Exclusive Citizenship Act. And the act is proposing to get rid of dual citizenship. So here in the United States, a lot of our clients ask us, if I naturalize and become a U.S. citizen, do I have to give up my country's citizenship? And my response always is not. The United States allows dual citizenship, recognizes dual citizenship. It's your country that may not recognize the dual citizenship. Like, for example, I believe China and India do not recognize dual citizenship. So if you naturalize, and don't quote me on that, but if you naturalize and become a U.S. citizen, you are no longer a citizen of those countries. So we will see where this goes. I think this is going to be quite the lengthy legislation and process. I don't believe this is going to pass. What do you think?
No, I don't think so either. Although, who knows? The U.S. is here. Here's a legal. The U.S. is heretofore is heretofore been pretty liberal with the dual citizenship, as Radlin said. It's usually the problem is on the other end.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't really know what lawmakers' appetite is for this right now, or the public's. I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere, so we'll see.
I think that people, I would say US born Americans who don't have too much interaction with immigration, I think they would be surprised to know that you can swear oath of allegiance to the United States, but still be a citizen of another country. I think, but I don't know. I mean, people call us all the time and they say they want to get citizenship for their spouse, and like, well, you got to get the green card first. So I'm making the conclusion based
that's true.
on thousands of phone calls where people want their spouse to get citizenship and are surprised to know that they still have to get the green card first. With the global economy and just I don't know. I don't think this is, as you said, I don't know if they'll have the appetite to do this. And there are some great benefits to being a dual citizen. And I think the question is, can you really be that loyal and swear your allegiance to the United States if you're also a citizen of the Philippines, for example? I mean, use my own parents as an example. So my dad immigrated to the United States through the U.S. Navy, and he has told us that if he's in the Philippines right now, if he's in the Philippines and he passes away in the Philippines, knock on wood, he wants to be brought to the United States and he wants to be buried here in the United States. He's extremely proud of his service in the Navy. And, you know, when my dad talks about his service in the Navy, even though he didn't retire with the Navy, he really attributes the U.S. Navy, the U.S. government to his success and also his ability to bring a lot of his family members and immigrate here. So he's extremely loyal to the United States, so much so that he wants to be buried here. I think that's allegiance.
It is indeed. Yeah, this bill, I just don't know whose radar this is on that it came up, but it's out there. If it's something you feel strongly about, you can reach out to your Congress person, senators, and tell them how you feel about it.
Yep.
Okay. Salim the Ethiopian wants to know, I have an interview, speaking of citizenship, for citizenship coming. Is that good news?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good news. Unless you're not eligible. No, an interview for citizenship is great news. It means that your case, your citizenship case, your naturalization case is coming to an end. And my recommendation for all of you out there who are going to an interview for U.S. citizenship is to go through that application and look at the questions and just make sure that everything that you put on your application is still correct and still true. If you see that there's a mistake on your application that, oh my gosh, I should have checked yes to this, but I checked no, then you need to alert the immigration officer that you made a mistake and that you want to correct the applications, because that application is still open until the end of that interview. So the other thing that I would recommend is, I don't want you guys to get like really worked up about this, okay? But go out and bring some sort of a letter of recommendation or a good moral character letter to your interview in case they ask for it. So whether it's from your place of worship, I like to say that one just because a lot of people can have that. Maybe an employment letter that you're not a bad employee, right? You don't have to be employee of the month, but something from your boss.
But if you are the employee of the month, even better.
Right. Maybe something even from your neighbor that says, yeah, this guy's great. He helps me take out my trash when I'm out of town. Again, I don't want you guys to be getting worked up about this recommendation. We are recommending it only because of the new holistic approach that USCIS is taking. And, it just saves the trouble, right? So if they want it and you already have it, it's fantastic.
Right.
Then hopefully they can adjudicate your case right then and there. I mean, that's what we want for our clients. We want the case to be over and done with at the interview and end in a positive way. You guys want the same thing. So just have the back pocket letter in the event that your immigration office is now taking the holistic approach. It is business as usual at our local immigration office, but maybe in yours, it's not.
Yeah, maybe you're somewhere where they have more teeth in this at the moment. And Radlin brought up a good point. I didn't want to sign off here without mentioning that, that interview, that you want to be honest. And if there's a mistake, you can correct it. And if you're asked specifically about it, they're really giving you a hint to correct it. If they're saying, you know, you didn't mention any speeding tickets in Utah. Did you get a speeding ticket in Utah? And you're like, no. And they're like, not in September of 2006. And you're thinking, I mean, how could they know that? I'm going to just stick with my original answer. Don't stick with your original answer. Just be like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yes, I did get a speeding ticket in Utah. I do remember now. And they're going to just
don't
check. They're going to correct it. And that's going to be that.
Well, don't do that, though. Like, just don't keep denying.
Yeah, right. Don't keep denying.
I know
they know.
It could be a deer in headlights. Be like, no, I'm going to say no because I want my case to be approved. Some people, I'm going to say a lot of people, some people will make a misrepresentation because they don't want to reveal it. When revealing it, number one, is the right thing to do. You should not lie on your application. And number two, when you reveal it, it's probably not going to be an issue anyway. And then your naturalization application is going to be denied, not because of the speeding ticket, but because you lied to a USCIS officer, and therefore you are not a person of good moral character. Go back to square one, wait 5 years to get the good moral character, or 3 if you're married to a U.S. citizen. I got the green card. Well, married to a U.S. citizen for 3 years, who has been a U.S. citizen for 3 years, or in the military 1. So basically, you're going to have to start over, and you don't want to do that. And that's why it is very important to have an immigration attorney represent you. And we represent people with their naturalization applications all the time. And some of these applications are extremely straightforward until that one question that is answered incorrectly. All right.
Yeah. This is a case where this is a situation where deny is not the best approach. Okay.
When is that? Okay. I mean, I guess that.
Well, I mean,
when you're dealing with,
sorry, I did criminal defense
when
for
you're
so long that I just.
When you're dealing with a parent, like you're a teenager.
Yeah.
Deny might be a good solution for you in the short term. Right.
Okay, real quick, because we're past our hour now.
Yes, John's making dinner tonight.
Yeah, BLT wanted to know, and now I'm getting hungry. BLT wants to know if 2-year green card is okay to travel internationally.
Yes.
Yes, we with all the caveats and warnings that we talked about earlier.
BLT, hopefully you saw that.
BLT, if you didn't rewatch this and see all the stuff we talked about.
I'm going to grab...
and Lang, we have one last question here on Facebook.
And this is a good question, and all of you guys should listen. All of you guys on TikTok, don't drop off. The question is, what would you advise for green card holders going out of the United States for a long period of time? How long should they stay out of the United States? Thank you. So this is a question, and the core of this question goes to, if I leave the United States for a long enough period of time, will I be able to come back in, or are they going to say that I've abandoned my green card, that I've abandoned my lawful permanent resident status? So, Ling, my recommendation is for you to give us a call, and we can talk about potentially filing a re-entry permit for you, which would allow you to stay out for longer than a year without having to come back into the United States. But if you don't file a re-entry permit and you come back in after a year, yes, this CBP can say you abandoned your green card, right? And give you a really hard time. And they say, hey, you got to go see an immigration judge, or even worse, detain you. So for those of you who are in this situation and you know that you're going to be leaving the United States for a long period of time, number one, a solution for you may be filing a re-entry permit, and we can help you with that. And I say may be because, as John mentioned at the outset of this live, we are not giving out immigration advice here tonight. We are giving you information, and we want you to take that information and give us a call because you need our help. So,
Okay.
fantastic. Thank you for the question. And thank you guys for the
Thanks
questions.
for
And really
joining us
great live tonight.
This has been wonderful. Great questions. We will see you next Wednesday, same time. If you didn't get your question answered, get here early, get here right on time, and get your question posted because we take them in the order they come in. All right. And we'll go out with another song by Sammy Gardner.
That's our daughter.
Oh, no.
Sit down low. Bye, guys.
Right.
Two thumbs up,
everyone. All right. Good night, everyone.